Well, I think that rocked, and thank you, Diane, for putting up with the technical difficulties in the middle as well. So next up, we have Eric Thompson, who's in the Master's HCI program at Georgia Tech. He also has a background as a mechanical engineer, and today he's going to talk to us about madhousers. Take it away, Eric. And here's your timer right here. Uh-oh, playing with the mic some more. Let's do it.
Hello, hello. All right, cool. All right. So this is my master's project at Georgia Tech. So I've always had difficulty settling on one interest area. It's the reason I did mechanical engineering and feel at home in human-computer interaction. The principles of these two fields are applicable to such a wide range of problems experienced by people. I can never turn away from interesting questions, problems, and opportunities that were presented around me. That's how you end up with my master's project. Over the past 2 years, I've cultivated an interest in information visualization. Of course, coming from a background in physical design, I started to define a niche area to explore this for my thesis. How can one build effective, real-world physical information visualizations? I soon after decided that I wanted to add a social angle to the project. I believed that working on something solely out of passion was somewhat dangerous for a long-term project. Instead, adding deeper purpose to the project would help me continue my work at a high level throughout the process. I'd only been in Atlanta for about a year, but I was really growing to love the city. There was a healthy grassroots community of creatives in both the arts and technology. I started to become familiar with a lot of the social hot topics gaining steam around fall's election. I felt it was important to somehow contribute to the grassroots political movements born of the same people that made the city such a unique and vibrant hub. I didn't want my work to be fleeting. Establishing a project in a niche space of physical information visualization for social justice was daunting. I had to define my own design methodology. Fortunately, this space was not as unexplored as I thought. It was called experience design. To find an advisor, I was put in contact with an alumnus from Georgia Tech who worked at a design firm called Second Story. Second Story specializes in designing interactive environments through conveying compelling stories and manipulating space with technology. They show information and stories in fun, profound, and entertaining ways. The ultimate goal of this is to architect emotions in people to inspire positive action. Before I could move further, I had to find a group doing impactful outreach work. I started volunteering with different grassroots projects meeting activists, artists, and technologists trying to make the city a better place for everyone. Through my friend Maggie Kane, I was introduced to a group called the Madhousers. Founded in 1987, they specialize in building $500 shelters and giving them away at no cost to clients. I appreciated their focus on action rather than talk. Initially, they were an underground movement, hoping to influence social change. However, they are now a registered nonprofit. The Madhousers are organized and hold 3 regular volunteer events a month and have a regimented system of material procurement, construction, and deployment. In January, my main contact, Tracy Woodard, became the president of the organization and mandated expanding the mission to connecting clients with services beyond their shelters. While personal shelters are a major step to recovery for many of their clients, the nonprofit realizes that access to additional services like nurses, social workers, and mental health professionals are needed for more serious cases. So I started volunteering with the Madhousers to understand more about their process and build relationships with some volunteers and clients. Twice a month, they hold shelter builds on weekends, and once a month they hold something called bucket burns, where they build their wood-burning stoves. Volunteering usually meant material and structural prep at their garage and then moving to a campsite to deploy. I also participated in a canvassing event where we sought out potential clients in high-density homeless areas. The experience of talking to people and hearing their stories and context was pretty impactful. The relevance of the problem in people resonates so much more when you look them in the eye and listen to what they tell you. This process of immersion allowed me to meet many people in and around the organization, including staff, volunteers, public health professionals, and past and potential future Madhousers clients. The relationships I cultivated would facilitate my official interviews. So during research, I spoke with dozens, interviewed over 20, and recorded 15 participants. The interview process was conducted with 4 separate research goals. Interviews with Matt Hauser's clients were aimed at gathering life and time stories before and after Matt Hauser's intervention. Interviews with student volunteers aimed to determine their intentions for volunteering and gauge how their experience was. Interviews with official representatives of the Matt Hausers aimed to capture their first exposure to the organization and what its needs and goals were. Finally, the primary set of interviews was aimed to determine insights from individuals who we hoped would volunteer their valuable skill sets to the Matt Hausers. We wanted to determine what key factors would motivate these individuals to answer calls to service. So during my research synthesis, I uncovered consequential findings, insights, and stories from my interviews. I found that when clients lived in Matt Hauser structures, there was quite a bit of work involved in maintaining their space and resources, especially in the winter months. However, their shelter and camps were invaluable staples of stability for safety for clients to allow them to work, sleep, and live with peace of mind. Interviews with volunteers highlighted the traditional building experience as a time-efficient but high-impact way to give back. It was also a hands-on learning experience. Speaking with the Matt Hausers themselves, I learned of their difficulties coordinating with city authority figures, their resource channels, and more about their expanding mission to involve more public health professionals. Regarding the target group I'm designing to influence, motivations originated mostly from a sense of self. Some were empathy-based, as in individuals saw themselves and as not that different from the homeless in different circumstances. Others were role-based, so often the values and skills that were associated with an individual's career correlated highly with their desire to get out and help. Human connection was another factor. Often individuals who were professionals expressed a desire to connect with people outside of the invisible wall they felt existed at work. And others were environmental or based on the national conversation, particularly with younger participants that felt the climate and national conversation of politics motivated them to effect whatever change they could in their environment. So concepting is the current phase of my project. I'm taking the insights from user research and reconciling them with my goals of designing experiences to promote calls to action and increase participation with Matt Hausers. I gathered a significant amount of media data during my interviews in the form of audio and photos. I also learned of some valuable census resources that I could use. The media and data is what I intend to actualize in my design. However, I have to tie the story I tell back to the user's sense of self based on findings from my research. Currently, I'm concepting 2 iterations of a story map-based interface. To tie my data and stories back to users, I want to attach audio data to sections of a city map that also presents GIS data on where the homeless are in town. The second iteration, I'm considering adding a mirror element to the map experience that will further connect the stories with the viewer's sense of self. My measurable KPI will be email sign up for volunteer events. I'm not anchored to these concepts, but I hope that they'll help illustrate how I've converted my insights to an actual social justice experience design specification. Thank you for your time.
All right, well, thank you, Eric. It's always good to have some of our budding students here among us, and we love to hear what you guys are working on and see some of the process, so thank you for sharing that. And Jen is here. She's from Points of Light, and she is going to wrap up our lightning talks with her talk about Points of Light, right? Yes.
A little, yeah.
Okay.
Let's start out with that. So I am the Director of UX at Points of Light. We're a nonprofit whose mission is to inspire, equip, and mobilize volunteers all around the world. I work mostly on our site, allforgood.org, which is our volunteer opportunity hub. And so I want to share with you a quick story about redesigning All for Good, showing you how pride comes before a tiny fall, and also tell you a little bit about an organization I've started called Atlanta Tech Citizens. So we were recently redesigning the homepage of All for Good, and I was documenting it in my portfolio, and I wrote this blurb to go with the before shot from the old site. And I said that many nonprofits have unfortunately been trained to share their mission and directives before they think of what the user needs. When that happens, users get lost in multiple mission-driven messages, words, or catchphrases. And so this is another before shot from the site, and you can see there's recruit volunteers to your cause, there's rally others to your cause, there's post projects and register an organization and connect with passionate people to make change happen. That's a lot of stuff to tell you about the 3 things you can do on the site. So I've seen this a lot navigating in the nonprofit world. People are so passionate about their mission that they just want to tell everybody everything about it. So I was pretty proud of myself for boiling down what allforgood.org is and does into this nice, simple site. I clearly knew better than these overly passionate, non-user-focused nonprofits, and I was there with my cape blowing in the wind, ready to save the day. And then I designed the site for my own organization. Some of you know where this is going. So Atlanta Tech Citizens is an organization that encourages all tech workers in Atlanta to use their time, money, talent, and influence in their communities through civic engagement and service. And I am super passionate about that. Oh God, because I used words, so many words. I start the site with, "We believe." And honestly, no one cares. No one cares what I believe and what my friends believe. People coming to the site, people are already fired up and want to give back right now. And so I'm not giving them any indication of how to do this, how to join, how to use more of your skills for good. And then I added a nice section about who we are after a paragraph about who we are and what we believe. So you scroll down the page and it gets worse. I wrote a manifesto. And some of you were at one of the meetings we had last year. I manifestoed at you in the meeting, too. I recognize that now. But I put the organization and the passion and the mission far ahead of the users, which makes the site kind of useless. So I had to change it. I was spewing mission there, and I wanted to break it down a little bit. So I moved, I didn't delete the manifesto, I could still be convinced of that one day, but I moved it to the Code of Ethics page, because that's a good place for lots of words. We want to explain to people, if you're going to be volunteering with us, you need to be on your best behavior, and here's how. So I think that was great, but I didn't need people to read this whole thing before they know that they want to get involved. So I moved it off the homepage. And then once that was gone, I was able to really break the homepage down into something more usable and actually create a flow for the people who are coming to the site. So I'm letting them know that their community needs them, and how they can learn about their community and how we can help. So breaking it down a little bit, making it simple. I want to add some graphics to the site once I have some more people come out and volunteer, and I can put some photos on the site. So I'm saying all this because this is important. We're going to start to see more civic tech opportunities in Atlanta, and more corporations are starting to get community and civic focused. And even nonprofits are starting to realize that tech and design is important. So we're going to start working with these folks a lot more. And they are going to have so much to say about what they do, and it's going to be so awesome. But it's our job to wrangle that passion and turn it into something that's usable. So I want to take it back just for a second to the title slide in this deck. It's simple, it's to the point. My original title slide was different. I was trying to illustrate this whole words concept thing, and so I wrote a parody of the Fiona Apple album title about content, And I felt very deeply about sharing it because my personal life mission is not only to do good work, but to be creative and create art. And I wanted to share that. But you didn't need to know that today. Like, that's not important for today. You can look at me and know that I'm creative and like art and probably do something artistic. But I thought that this was a good example of me getting passionate about something again and needing to pull back and make something that made more sense. So I really just here at the end, I'm going to save us a little bit of time and wrap it up quicker. I just want to actually invite you to think about Atlanta Tech Citizens. Go check out our site, atlantatechcitizens.org, or follow us on Twitter at ATL Tech Citizens. A couple of things that we've done so far. We've taught MailChimp to a couple of social justice organizations. We've connected nonprofits that we're close to with people who can redesign their site for them. We connect tech folks with people who need mentoring. And we also sometimes take a break from tech and do other volunteer work together, like Boo at the Zoo is a kids' day at the zoo. And the Refuge Coffee 5K is coming up, and I would love to have some people come do that with me. And we've also done some projects with Hands On Atlanta too. So I just want to invite you to take a look. If you are interested in giving back, we're here to help you do that, and we're here to help make connections with nonprofits who need our help. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. That was really good. I enjoyed seeing all the tech citizens. I think a lot of people in this room might be interested in working on some of that. So, you guys have been sitting a long time. Believe it or not, we are on time. I'm amazed. So, if you want to stand up, turn around, do the hokey pokey, we're going to take a couple of minutes to reset for the panel, and then we'll be right back at it. Thank you.